Wembley Stadium is a football stadium in Wembley Park, London, England. It opened in 2007 and was built on the site of the earlier Wembley Stadium, which was demolished in 2003. The stadium hosts major football matches such as the FA Cup final and home matches of the England national football team. Wembley Stadium is a UEFA Category 4 stadium. With 90,000 seats, it is the second largest stadium in Europe. It is owned by the Football Association through their subsidiary Wembley National Stadium Ltd. Designed by HOK Sport and Foster and Partners, it includes a partially retractable roof and the 134-metre-high Wembley Arch. The stadium was built by Australian firm Multiplex at a cost of £798 a million. In club football, in addition to the FA Cup, the stadium hosts the season-opening FA Community Shield match, the finals of the Football League Cup, the Football League Trophy and the Football League playoffs. In European football, it hosted the 2011 and 2013 UEFA Champions League final. The stadium also hosts the Rugby League Challenge Cup final, the National Football League's international series and music concerts. Stadium. Wembley was designed by architects Foster Plus Partners and Populous and with engineers Mott Stadium Consortium, who were a collection of three structural engineering consultants in the form of Mott MacDonald Limited, Sinclair Knight and Meerts and Oken. The design of the building services was carried out by Mott MacDonald Limited. The construction of the stadium was managed by Australian company Brookfield Multiplex and funded by Sport England, WNSL, the Football Association, the Department for Culture, Media and Sport and the London Development Agency. It is one of the most expensive stadia ever built at a cost of £798 a million and has the largest roof-covered seating capacity in the world. Nathaniel Litchfield and Partners was appointed to assist Wembley National Stadium Ltd in preparing the scheme for a new stadium and to obtain planning and listed building permission for the development. The all-seater stadium is based around a bowl design with a capacity of 90,000, protected from the elements by a sliding roof that does not completely enclose it. It can also be adapted as an athletic stadium by erecting a temporary platform over the lowest tier of seating. The stadium's signature feature is a circular section lattice arch of 7 am internal diameter with a 315 am span, erected some 22 degree off true, and rising to 133 am. It supports all the weight of the north roof and 60% of the weight of the retractable roof on the southern side. The archway is the world's longest unsupported roof structure. Instead of the 39 steps climbed, in the original stadium, to enter the Royal Box and collect a trophy, there are now 107. A platforms system has been designed to convert the stadium for athletics use, but its use would decrease the stadium's capacity to approximately 60,000. No athletics events have taken place at the stadium, and none are scheduled. The conversion for athletics use was a condition of part of the lottery funding the stadium received, but to convert it would take weeks of work and cost millions of pounds. Construction. The initial plan for the reconstruction of Wembley was for demolition to begin before Christmas 2000, and for the new stadium to be completed sometime during 2003, but this work was delayed by a succession of financial and legal difficulties. In 2004, the London Mayor and Brent Council also announced wider plans for the regeneration of Wembley, taking in the arena and the surrounding areas as well as the stadium, to be implemented over 2 or 3 decades. Delays to the construction project started as far back as 2003. In December 2003, the constructors of the arch, subcontractors Cleveland Bridge and Engineering Company of Darlington, warned Multiplex about rising costs and a delay on the steel job of almost a year due to Multiplex design changes which Multiplex rejected. Cleveland Bridge withdrew from the project and replaced by Dutch firm Hollandia with all the attendant problems of starting over. 2004 also saw errors, most notably a fatal accident involving carpenter Patrick O'Sullivan, for which construction firm PC Harrington contractors were fined £150,000 in relation to breaches of health and safety laws. In October 2005, Sports Minister Richard Cabourn announced, "They say the cup final will be there, barring 6 feet of snow or something like that." By November 2005, WNSL was still hopeful of a handover date of March 31, in time for the Cup final on May 13. However, in December 2005, the builders admitted that there was a material risk that the stadium might not be ready in time for the final. In February 2006 these worries were confirmed, with the FA moving the game to Cardiff's Millennium Stadium. On March 20, 2006, a steel rafter in the roof of the new development fell by 1.5 feet, forcing 3,000 workers to evacuate the stadium and raising further doubts over the completion date, which was already behind schedule. On March 23, 2006, sewers beneath the stadium buckled due to ground movement. GMB union leader Steve Kelly said that the problem had been caused by the pipes not being properly laid, and that the repair would take months. Rumors circulated that the reason for the blockage was due to Multiplex failing to pay the contractors who laid the pipes, who then filled in the pipes with concrete. A spokesman for developers Multiplex said that they did not believe this would have any impact on the completion of the stadium, which was then scheduled to be completed on March 31, 2006. On March 30, 2006, the developers announced that Wembley Stadium would not be ready until 2007. All competitions and concerts planned were to be moved to suitable locations. On June 19, 2006 it was announced that the turf had been laid. On October 19, 2006 it was announced that the venue was now set to open in early 2007 after the dispute between the Football Association and Multiplex had finally been settled. WNSL was expected to pay around £36 million to Multiplex, on top of the amount of the original fixed-price contract. The total cost of the project was estimated to be £1 billion. For the new stadium the level of the pitch was lowered. During excavation of the new playing field, mechanical diggers unearthed a buried obstruction, the concrete foundations of Watkins Tower, a failed attempt to construct a rival to the Eiffel Tower in London. Only base of the tower was ever built before being abandoned and demolished in 1907. The site was later used as the location for the first Wembley Stadium. Handover and opening. The new stadium was completed and handed over to the FA on March 9, 2007. The official Wembley Stadium website had announced that the stadium would be open for public viewing for local residents of Brent on March 3, 2007, however this was delayed by 2 weeks and instead happened on March 17. While the stadium had hosted football matches since the handover in March, the stadium was officially opened on Saturday 19 May, with the staging of the 2007 FA Cup final. 8 days before that, on Friday 11 May, the statue of Bobby Moore had been unveiled by Sir Bobby Charlton outside the stadium entrance, as the finishing touch to the completion of the stadium. The twice life-size bronze statue, sculpted by Philip Jackson, depicts England's 1966 World Cup winning captain Bobby Moore, looking down Olympic Way. Structure. The stadium contains 2,618 toilets, more than any other venue in the world. The stadium has a circumference of 1 km. The bowl volume is listed at 1,139,100 m3, somewhat smaller than the Millennium Stadium in Cardiff, but with a greater seating capacity. At its peak, there were more than 3,500 construction workers on site. 4,000 separate piles form the foundations of the new stadium, the deepest of which is 35 am. There are 56 km of heavy-duty power cables in the stadium. 90,000 am3 of concrete and 23,000 tons of steel were used in the construction of the new stadium. The total length of the escalators is 400 am. The Wembley Arch has a cross-sectional diameter greater than that of a cross-channel Eurostar train. Pitch. The new pitch is 13 ft lower than the previous pitch. The pitch size, as lined for association football, is 115 yd long by 75 yd wide, slightly narrower than the old Wembley, as required by the UEFA stadium categories for a Category 4 stadium, the top category. Since the completion of the new Wembley, the pitch has come into disrepute since it was described as being no good, and not in the condition that Wembley used to be known for by Slaven Bilic before the game between England and the team he managed, Croatia. It was confirmed when the pitch was terribly cut up during the game, which was blamed by some as the reason England did not qualify for UEFA Euro 2008. The Football Association admitted in April 2009 after the FA Cup semi-finals that improvements are needed to the Wembley pitch after criticism of the surface by Sir Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger and David Moyes. The grass has been relaid 10 times since the stadium reopened in 2007 and was relaid again in the summer of 2009, ahead of the 2009 Community Shield. In March 2010, the surface was relaid for the 10th time since 2007, when the stadium was built. In April 2010, the pitch was again criticised following the FA Cup semi-finals, during which the players found it difficult to keep their footing and the surface cut up despite the dry conditions. The then Tottenham Hotspur boss, Harry Redknapp, labelled it a disgrace after his side's semi-final defeat to Portsmouth. After the 2010 FA Cup final, Chelsea captain John Terry said, "The pitch ruined the final. It a Euro unregistered trademark is probably the worst pitch we Euro unregistered trademark they played on all year. It was not good enough for a Wembley pitch. It was relayed with Deso semi-artificial pitch, ahead of the 2010 Community Shield game between Chelsea and Manchester United." Michael Owen, who previously criticised the pitch for causing him injury, said that it was much improved. Covering. The stadium roof has an area of 40,000 am2, of which 13,722 am2 is movable. The primary reason for the sliding roof was to avoid shading the pitch, as grass demands direct sunlight to grow effectively. The sliding roof design minimizes the shadow by having the roof pulled back on the east, west and south. Angus Campbell, chief architect, also said that an aim was for the pitch to be in sunlight during the match between the beginning of May and the end of June, between 3 p.m. and 5 p.m., which is when the FA and World Cups would be played. However, it was mentioned during live commentary of the FA Cup final in 2007 that the pitch was in partial shade at the start at 3 p.m. and also during the match. The stadium roof rises to 52 meters above the pitch and is supported by an arch rising 133 meters above the level of the external concourse. With a span of 315 meters, the arch is the longest single-span roof structure in the world. Litigation. The Australian firm Multiplex, which was the main contractor on Wembley Stadium, made significant losses on the project. In an attempt to recoup some of those losses, the firm has initiated a number of legal cases against its subcontractors and consultants. The largest of these the largest construction claim in UK legal history was a claim for £253 a million against the structural engineering consultants Mott MacDonald. In preliminary hearings, the two architecture practices which worked for Multiplex on the project were ordered to allow Multiplex access to their records in order for them to build a case. The practices, Foster Plus Partners and Populus, estimated the costs of providing access and answering Multiplex's queries at £5 a million. The case was not due to be heard until January 2011. Mott MacDonald has issued a counterclaim for unpaid fees of £250,000. The dispute between Multiplex and Mott MacDonald was settled out of court in June 2010, the judge having warned that costs were likely to be more than £74 a million. Multiplex also took the original steel contractor, Cleveland Bridge, to court in order to claim up to £38 a million compensation for costs resulting from Cleveland Bridge walking away from the job. Cleveland Bridge, in turn, claimed up to £15 a million from Multiplex. The case was finally resolved in September 2008 with Cleveland Bridge ordered to pay £6.1 a million in damages and 20% of Multiplex's costs after the court found Cleveland Bridge was in the wrong to walk off-site. The judge criticised both sides for allowing the case to reach court, pointing out that total costs were £22 a million, including £1 a million for photocopying. Multiplex's ultimate bill is estimated to be over £10 a million. Multiplex is also contesting a claim from its concrete contractor, PC Harrington, that Multiplex owes £13.4 a million to PC Harrington. Tenants. The English national football team is a major user of Wembley Stadium. Given the ownership by the Football Association as of March 10, 2007, The League Cup final moved back to Wembley from Cardiff following the FA Cup final and FA Community Shield. Other showpiece football matches that were previously staged at Wembley, such as the Football League Promotion Playoffs and the Football League Trophy Final, have returned to the stadium, as has the Football Conference Playoff Final. Additionally, the Rugby League Challenge Cup Final returned to Wembley Stadium in 2007. The new Wembley was a significant part of the plan for the 2012 Summer Olympics in London. The stadium was the site of several games in both the men's and women's football tournaments, with the finals being held there. Additionally, Wembley is one of the 13 2015 Rugby World Cup venues. The Race of Champions staged their 2007 and 2008 events at the stadium. Wembley has had a long association with American football. A United States Football League game was staged there in 1984, and between 1986 and 1993 the old Wembley Stadium hosted 8 National Football League exhibition games featuring 13 different NFL teams. Since the new Wembley Stadium opened in 2007, Wembley has hosted games during the NFL regular season. As a result of this, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell stated in October 2009 that he expects the NFL will start playing multiple regular season games in Britain in the next few years, an expansion that could lead to putting a franchise in London. On January 20, 2012, the league announced that the St. Louis Rams would become a temporary tenant of Wembley Stadium, playing an annual game at the stadium every year from 2012 to 2014. Part of the reason the Rams were chosen was the fact that the team is owned by Stan Kroenke, who also is majority shareholder in a local Premier League team, Arsenal. However, the Rams later cancelled their 2013 to 2014 games, leading to the Jacksonville Jaguars becoming new temporary tenants and hosting games in London from 2013 to 2016. Football matches at Wembley. Music. Besides football, Wembley can be configured to hold many other events, particularly major concerts but also private events like weddings and conferences. This is an economic necessity given that the stadium ended up costing the FA much more than was originally projected. The regular covering of the pitch for concerts has led to the pitch being relaid often. Regular changes to the pitch mean that it never matches the quality of its surroundings, or of the pitch of the old Wembley in its later years. The first concert at the new stadium was given by George Michael on June 9, 2007. Bon Jovi was scheduled to be the first artists to perform at the new Wembley, but the late completion of the stadium saw the concerts relocated to the National Bowl and the KC Stadium. Muse became the first band to sell out the new stadium on 16 and 17 June 2007, and released a live DVD of the performance. Other acts to have performed at the stadium are Metallica, The Killers, Green Day, Foo Fighters, Madonna, Coldplay, Oasis, Take That and AC/DC. Wembley Stadium hosted Take That present The Circus Live for 4 nights in summer 2009. The tour became the fastest-selling tour in UK in history before that record was broken by Take That 2 years later with their Progress Live tour. 2 large charity concerts have been held at the new Wembley Stadium, the Concert for Diana, a memorial concert to commemorate 10 years after the death of Princess Diana, and Live Earth, a concert hosted at Wembley as part of the Live Earth Foundation, committed to combating climate change. 95.8 Capital FM Summertime Ball, which was previously hosted with 55,000 spectators at the Arsenal Emirates Stadium and slightly less in Hyde Park, was hosted at Wembley Stadium on June 6, 2010, and was headlined by Rihanna and Usher. The move to Wembley allowed many more fans to watch the annual music event, which has previously lasted over 5 hours with more than 15 performers. It is thought to be the biggest commercial music event held at the stadium. It has since returned to the stadium in 2011, 2012, 2013 and again in 2014 on June 21. American punk rock band Green Day continued their world tour, playing at Wembley on June 19, 2010. The gig was Green Day's biggest audience yet with over 90,000. Las Vegas band The Killers played their largest ever sold-out audience of 80,000 on June 22, 2013. They performed a song specially written for the Wembley Stadium, the Wembley Song. Brandon Flowers, Lead singer for the Killers said OEWEA unregistered trademark. They written a song for this joyous occasion and proceeded to sing about some of Wembley unregistered trademark's great moments, unregistered trademark's history from the Twin Towers to present-day Arch. Muse returned to Wembley Stadium on 10th and 11th September 2010 as part of their Resistance tour to a sellout crowd, having previously played there in June 2007. Madonna played Wembley in 2008 during her Sticky and Sweet tour, to a sold-out audience of 74,000. The event has surpassed all gross revenue for a single concert at Wembley, grossing nearly $12 million USD. Take That played a record-breaking 8 nights at Wembley Stadium in summer 2011 on their Progress Live tour, which has become the fastest and biggest-selling tour in UK history. 623,737 people attended the 8 shows at the stadium. The Olympics meant that no concerts took place at Wembley in summer 2012, with other big shows taking place elsewhere. In summer 2013, there will be 7 big shows. The first act to perform at the venue will be Bruce Springsteen, who will be playing his first show at the new stadium on June 15. 1 week later, American rock band The Killers will perform their biggest headline show at the venue on June 22. Robbie Williams will then be performing 4 solo concerts at the stadium on 29 and 30 June, and on 2 and 5 July after previously performing with Take That at the stadium in 2011. The summer's final show saw former Pink Floyd bass guitarist Roger Waters play at the venue on September 14 as part of the Will Live tour. Concerts. On June 17, 2007, Muse became the first artist to sell out the new Wembley Stadium with a crowd of 180,000 fans in 2 nights. On September 11, 2008, Madonna performed to a sellout crowd of over 74,000 fans and a gross of over $12 million and surpassed all previous grosses at both the old and the new Wembley Stadia. U2 performed to a record 82,000 fans each night on 14 and 15 August 2009. The U2 360-degree tour stage was designed to cater for fans positioned behind the stage. Eminem became the first rapper to headline at Wembley Stadium performing to a record 90,000 fans each night 11th and 12th July 2014. First at the new Wembley Stadium, football. The first match at the stadium was a game played behind closed doors between Multiplex and Wembley Stadium staff. The first game in front of spectators was between the Jeff Thomas Foundation Charity 11 and the Wembley sponsors All-Stars on March 17, 2007. The Jeff Thomas Foundation Charity 11 won 2-0. The first official match involving professional players was England U21s versus Italy U21s on March 24, 2007, which finished 3-3. Official attendance was 55,700. The first player to score in a FIFA-sanctioned match was Italian striker Gianpaolo Pasni after 28 seconds of the same game. Pasni went on to score twice more in the second half of the match, making him the first person to score a hat-trick at Wembley Stadium since Paul Scholes for England in 2000 against Poland in Kevin Keegan's first game in charge. The first English player to score in a full-scale match was David Bentley with a free kick in the same game. The first club game, competitive game, and cup final held at the new Wembley took place on May 12, 2007 when Kidderminster Harriers met Stevenage Borough in the FA Trophy final. Kidderminster striker James Constable was the first player to score a goal in a final at the new Wembley. Kidderminster became the first team to play at both the old and new stadium. Stevenage Borough were the first team to win a final at the new Wembley, beating Kidderminster 3-2, despite trailing 2-0 at half-time. The first players to play at both the old and new Wembley Stadia were Steve Guppy and Jeff Kenner. Ex-England international Guppy was the first player to win a final at both stadia. Ronnie Henry was the first ever player to lift a competitive club trophy at the new Wembley. The first penalty save and first red card came in the Conference National Playoff final between Exeter City and Morecambe. The penalty was saved by Paul Jones of Exeter City from Morecambe striker Wayne Curtis. The red card was given to Matthew Gill of Exeter for a headbutt on Craig Stanley of Morecambe. The first Football League teams to play at Wembley in a competitive fixture were Bristol Rovers and Shrewsbury Town in the 2007 Football League Two playoff final on May 26, 2007. Shrewsbury Town became the first league team to score at Wembley and also the first league team to have a player sent off. Bristol Rovers won the game 3-1 in front of 61,589, which was a stadium record until the Championship playoff final 2 days later when Derby County beat West Bromwich Albion 1-0 to become the first team at the new stadium to win promotion to the FA Premier League. The first FA Cup final at the new Wembley was on May 19, 2007. Chelsea won 1-0 with a goal by Didier Drogba, making him the first player to score in the FA Cup final at the new Wembley. Chelsea goalkeeper Petrich also became the first goalkeeper not to concede a goal in a competitive game at Wembley. Chelsea were the last winners of the Cup final at the old Wembley and the first winners at the new. The first game involving the full English national team was a friendly played on June 1, 2007, against Brazil. The match saw captain John Terry become the first England international goal scorer at the new stadium when he scored in the 68th minute. Diego became the first full international player to score for a visiting team when he scored in stoppage time, with the full-time result being a 1-1 draw. The first competitive senior international was played on September 8, 2007 between England and Israel. This game ended 3-0. The first player to score international goals at both the old and new stadia was Michael Owen when he scored for England against Israel. On August 22, Germany beat England 2-1 to become the first team to beat them in the new Wembley Stadium. England's first competitive defeat at the new stadium was on November 21, 2007 when Croatia won 3-2. This match cost England qualification to Euro 2008 and head coach Steve McClaren his job. Celtic were the first Scottish team to win a trophy at the new Wembley. Competing in the first year of the Wembley Cup in July 2009, against English side Tottenham, Egyptian side Al Ahly and the 2009 European champions, Barcelona. Millwall currently hold the record for the number of fans at the new Wembley Stadium by one club, taking 49,661 to the League One playoff final in 2009. Millwall also hold the record at the old Wembley when they brought 47,349 fans against Wigan Athletic in the Football League Trophy final in 1999. Wembley Stadium hosted the UEFA Champions League final on May 28, 2011 between FC Barcelona and Manchester United. Wembley also hosted the 2013 UEFA Champions League final, making it the second time in 3 years. The event was held to mark the 150th anniversary of the Football Association. Rugby League. The Rugby League Challenge Cup final had been played annually at the old Wembley Stadium since 1929, when Wigan were the victors. In 2007 the Cup final returned to its traditional home after the rebuilding of Wembley. When Catalans Dragons played St Helens in the 2007 Challenge Cup final, they became the first non-English rugby league team to play in the final. The result saw St Helens retain the cup by a score of 30-8. The first rugby league team to win a game at the new Wembley Stadium were Normanton Freestone. The West Yorkshire Secondary School beat Castleford High School in the Year 7 Boys Carnegie Champions Schools final, which was played immediately prior to the 2007 Challenge Cup final. The first official try at the renovated Wembley was scored by James Rugby of St Helens, although Luke Metcalf of Castleford High School scored the first try in the school's game that took place before the 2007 Challenge Cup final. In 2011, International Rugby League returned to Wembley for the first time since 1997 when Wales lost to New Zealand 0-36 and Australia beat host nation England 36-20 in the 2011 Rugby League Four Nations. The semi-finals of the 2013 Rugby League World Cup were played at Wembley Stadium where New Zealand piped England 20-18 and Australia thrashed Fiji 64-0. Castleford Academy currently hold the record for the most rugby league appearances at the new Wembley Stadium. On August 24, 2013 their Year 7 rugby team played RGS High Wycombe in the annual schools curtain raiser to the Challenge Cup final. This was Castleford Academy's fourth appearance at the stadium since 2007. This puts them one appearance ahead of Leeds and Warrington. Rugby Union. The first top-level rugby union match was a non-cap match between the Barbarians and Australia on December 3, 2008. Since 2009, the stadium has been used regularly by Saracens for some major Aviva Premiership, Heineken Cup and international matches. Their Aviva Premiership clash with Harlequins in 2012 was played before a crowd of 83,761, a world record for a rugby club match. In 2014 the teams faced again in front of 83,889 spectators. The stadium will also be used during the 2015 Rugby World Cup where it will host two pool matches, American football. On October 28, 2007, in front of 81,176 fans, the New York Giants defeated the Miami Dolphins by a score of 13-10 in the first regular season NFL game ever to be played in Europe, and the first outside of North America. The first touchdown scored at Wembley was on a run by Giants quarterback Eli Manning. The NFL have hosted at least one regular season game a year at Wembley since. On August 21, 2012 the Jacksonville Jaguars announced a 4-year deal to become temporary tenants of Wembley by playing one regular season game each year between 2013 and 2016 and becoming the first team to return to Wembley in consecutive years. On October 16, 2012 the NFL announced there was to be two NFL regular season games played at Wembley Stadium during the 2013 season. The Pittsburgh Steelers at Minnesota Vikings on September 29, 2013 and the San Francisco 49ers at Jacksonville Jaguars on October 27, 2013. This is an attempt by the NFL to strengthen the NFL fanbase in London and internationally. Future plans to have a permanent NFL team in London may come to fruition considering the coming years of growth. Another first will be recorded in 2014 as 3 regular season NFL games are due to be played at Wembley. The Oakland Raiders will host the Miami Dolphins on September 28 at 6 p.m. BST. The Atlanta Falcons will host the Detroit Lions on October 26 at 1:30 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time and the Jacksonville Jaguars will host the Dallas Cowboys on November 9 at 6 p.m. Greenwich Mean Time. At 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time, the Detroit-Atlanta game will be the earliest kickoff in NFL history and give fans a unique 4-game window on this day. Boxing. On May 31, 2014, Wembley Stadium hosted its first boxing event, featuring the rematch between Carl Froch and George Groves for the IBF and WBA Super Middleweight Championships. The contest was held in front of a crowd of 80,000 spectators, a British post-war attendance record for a boxing event, surpassing the crowd at the City of Manchester Stadium when it hosted Ricky Hatton vs Juan Lozano in May 2008. Transport connections. The stadium is described as a public transport destination for which parking is available on a very limited basis. In order to alleviate the impact of vehicular traffic on the local residents and businesses, Brent Council have introduced a number of measures in relation to on-street parking and to access restrictions of roads that surround the stadium. The Wembley Stadium Protective Parking Scheme sets a boundary in which parking on street is restricted to only those that hold an event day parking permit. The Wembley Stadium road closures are in force from 10:00 am on the event day until midnight and apply to Fulton Road, Engineers Way and South Way. Rail and Underground. The stadium is connected to 2 London Underground stations, Wembley Park Station via Olympic Way, and Wembley Central via the White Horse Bridge. Rail links are provided at Wembley Central and Wembley Stadium Railway Station. Stations nearby. On-site parking. The on-site parking facility is shared with Wembley Arena, essentially being the open-air surface parking surrounding the eastern flank of Wembley Stadium and the multi-storey car park. These are called Green Car Park and Red Car Park respectively. There is disabled parking available on-site, at the Green Car Park, at a reduced rate but on a first-come first-served basis. On some football event dates, opposing team supporters have been separated into the 2 different car parks. Bus. London bus routes nearby. In the media, London Dreams, A 2009 Bollywood musical film shot one of its scenes at Wembley Stadium in front of an audience estimated at 90,000. A short documentary of the stadium's redevelopment can be found on the Queen Live at Wembley 86 DVD. Although not completed or opened at the time, EA Sports added Wembley Stadium into the video game FIFA 07, and has been adding the stadium to every FIFA title since. The stadium featured in the music videos for Take That's When We Were Young in 2011 and JLS Proud in 2012. An episode of 24, Live Another Day is partly set at Wembley Stadium. References. External links, wembleystadium.com, the venue's official website, Wembley Stadium images.